Sorry. Stephanie, excellent. Excellent. Oh, wow. That's a hard song. I mean, if you've seen the movie Crash, that's the last song of the movie. See the movie Crash. It's about perception, perspectives, people thinking they know what they're doing and then finding out they don't. It's a wonderful, gut-wrenching movie where jerks become heroes and heroes become jerks, all because life. And the song is just about life. Thought you had all the answers to rest your heart upon, but something happens, you didn't see it coming. And now you're out, you're spinning. No, you're swimming in the deep. We're 20 years old, 25 years old. We got life by the tail. We know what's going on. We have life by the tail. And then you're thrown in the deep end of the pool. Divorce, a layoff, an accident. And suddenly, you're swimming in the deep you don't know. And then life keeps tumbling your heart in circles till you let go. And you shed your pride, and you climb to heaven, and you throw yourself off. And now you're spinning in the deep. You start taking chances. You buy a house. You start a new career. You start a relationship. You throw yourself off. You don't know where you're going. You know, you're spinning in the deep, and you know it. And there's a third stanza that wasn't sung, but the last stanza says, that we have all our secrets. We try to hold on to them, and then begin to realize I can never pin myself back together. And now I find myself living in the deep. You realize you'll no longer be what you thought you were. You're somebody new. You know, I thought this was a perfect talk for the second Sunday of the new year. A new year, a new me. A new day, a new me. How about a new minute, a new me? You may not realize this, but right this second, you will never, this sounds weird, but you will never experience this second ever again. You get this age that you are right now, you will never experience. You didn't experience it before, and you'll never experience it again. And we're going through life. And whether we know it or not, we are all in the deep all the time. We don't know where we're going. We don't know what's coming on. Anyone here besides me like to be in control? Yeah. Think you have it all together? You know, and then life hits you. And that's okay. God, there's nothing wrong with being in control. But it gives us a sense of security and permanence that isn't there, right? But you got to have a plan. John Lennon said, life is what happens to you when you're making other plans. Life is what happens to you when you're making other plans. A Course in Miracles says that we are given lessons. We are never punished by some God or some entity that thinks, well, you screwed up or whatever, and now you have to pay for this. That's why you're in the deep. That's why you're going through this divorce. That's why you're going through whatever, because you did something wrong. No, it's a lesson. Always, 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 it's a lesson. A Course in Miracles is so clear about letting us realize that there is nobody to blame ever. Not us, not anyone else. There is a part of us that has a part of what's going on. I know from personal experience that my divorces were part of my stuff. I called it to me. I dragged it to me because of how I was acting. And through divorce number 1, I learned a couple things. Through divorce number 2, I learned a couple things, more things. I began to suddenly realize, after divorce number 2, I suddenly realized, oh my God, in all my relationships, there was one common denominator. Me. Maybe I'm the problem and not her. I mean, because that's how we live, And we think we're responsible for what happened to us. Change that word responsible to respondable. Because you're not to blame for what you're going through. But you can respond. We have responsibility instead of responsibility. I can choose. I have the ability to respond in whatever's happening. In my previous marriage, my wife Stav, we were married for 24 years, together for 25 or 26 years. I can't remember how long. And she was diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer. And it was 5 or 6 years of comparative hell. And not hell. Here I am, trying to take care of a wife, do a job, mow the lawn, drive around, pick up groceries, answer phone calls, answer problems at work. I was in the deep. And then I realized one thing one day. I was making her oatmeal. And I know you've done this, where you're thinking of something, you're doing something and thinking of something else. And that was my life, taking care of Stav and thinking about that I'm not at work. And at work and wondering what's going on with Stav and doing this, And I was stirring oatmeal one day, and I suddenly realized one important thing. I only had to do one thing at a time. And if you realize this in your own life, you can only do one thing at a time. You cannot think multiple thoughts. You may try, but all you're going to do, and what I realized was all I had to do in that moment would be the world's best oatmeal stirrer. I'm serious. It sounds funny, but I'm serious. And then when I was driving her to chemo, all I had to be was the world's best chauffeur. And when I was at work, I had to be the world's best programmer. Didn't think about her. Didn't think about what's coming on. And I got a call that I have to pick her up. Something's happened. Now I'm a chauffeur. This changed. I mean, when you realize to me, this was earth-shattering because it stopped my thinking. All I had to do was drive. All I had to do was make oatmeal. All I had to do was take care. That's the moment. Be present. Because otherwise it caused resentment. It caused me, I should be out doing, God, I wish I could play some video games, but I'm always, we're people. We're just people. And you don't know what lessons you're learning. Oh. One time I took her to chemotherapy, and she said she was feeling good, so we went to Whole Foods. And as she entered Whole Foods, she started getting sick. And I don't like to make waves. I don't like to make a big fuss. I like to be easy. But she was sick. I didn't know that Papa Bear rose up. And I remember walking through that store with her, dragging her behind me. Make a path, out of my way, make a path. Because she was sick. And the women's restroom was being used. I opened the men's restroom, I put her in there. It was a big room, so I just stood in there for a while until she got herself settled. And then I said, I'll be outside until you're ready. And I stood outside the door like Mr. Clean. The guard, Papa Bear, showed up. Didn't know he was there. I was loud, I was obnoxious, and I didn't care. When we're thrown in the deep, we are learning. And people are out there to help you. My dear, dear friend Donna, she and I worked together for many years. At first, we were kind of adversaries. She thought I was the weirdest thing since sliced bread. And over the years, we went from thinking we're weird and hating each other to becoming such dear friends. And she became my boss for many years. And I just loved working for her, and we worked together. And one time I was at work, and Stav, this is probably 2 years before she passed. She wanted to make Thanksgiving. I was like, no, you don't need this pressure. No, I want to make Thanksgiving. And so I'm trying to take care of Stav, and Stav wants to do Thanksgiving. I'm going, you're going to burn yourself out. And I was telling Donna the story at work. And I could see tears in her eyes. And she looked at me, she said, damn it, Jerry, let her cook the effing turkey. And I looked at Donna. And she had tears, and she said, we were a farming family. And when my dad was dying, all he wanted to do was climb up on the tractor. And my sisters wouldn't let him, and I would say, let him climb up on the tractor. She said, all Stav wants is to feel normal. Let her make the effing turkey. I love you guys. We think we're doing the best. I'm trying to take care of her, and she wants to make the turkey. There's nothing wrong with that. Do you hear this? We're all in the deep. We're all spinning. Jerry Stefaniak said, he wrote a book, From a Chicken to an Eagle, and he said, when you're in your stuff, you're like you're in a little tornado. Isn't that true? When you're in, and people go, what's going on with you? You're just in your stuff. And Jerry said, I love this. You don't do any good by joining them in the tornado. But what you do is you stick your hand in and say, hold my hand. And I'm not going to pull you out. That's not my job. But I'm going to hold your hand while you suffer, while you go through whatever you're going through. Last week we did the white stone ceremony, and what I realized for me is, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm in the deep right now. I'm on my later years of life. I don't know what's coming on. Things are happening. But I chose the word peace. That's all I want. I don't care if I'm going through a divorce. Hope not. Better not. I don't care if I'm dying. My eyesight is getting worse. I don't know if I'll be blind. I don't think I will. But what I realize is the only thing I want is peace. Right where I am. Believe it or not, you're going to think this is crazy, but you can be in homicidal rage and be at peace. I've done this. homicidal rage, I want to kill somebody, but I'm at peace because there's a part of me saying, yes, Jerry, you were hurt, you were vilified, you were hurt, and anybody would want to kill. But you don't have to act on it. Just own it. This is my insanity. God. This is my insanity. This is my insanity, God. And I could be at peace with myself knowing that I'm being human. I'm at peace while I'm having murderous rage. You don't act it out. That just creates more hell. It throws you into another deep end. You don't act it out. But I offer it to God. Here, God, here is my hate. And I'm not going to try to get rid of it. I'm not going to work. I talked about forgiveness last month. I don't work on the forgiveness. No. Right now, I'm not ready to forgive you. And I'm at peace with that. Do you hear this? I saw a cartoon about teenagers called Zits. And the mother says, "Good morning, Jeremy." And Jeremy says, "What's good about it?" "Oh," she says, "you're always so gloomy in the morning. Maybe you feel better if you try looking at the bright side for a change." And Jeremy goes, "The bright side? Golly, why didn't I think of that? I could solve all my problems by simply having happy thoughts. Well, I see the sun rolls right on schedule today. Huh? Ah, smell that air. Isn't it glorious? Don't you just love how the paint sticks on the wall all by itself? Well, I'm off to take advantage of another day of free taxpayer-supported education. Lucky me." And he walks out the door. And suddenly he stops. He goes, "Damn, I am feeling better." I was at a men's weekend. And it was an elders weekend. So you had to be at least 50, and I think I just made it. I think I just turned 50, or I was 51. And on the last day of the meeting, they asked the oldest guy, who was 88, "Hey, you have any advice for us youngsters?" And I love this. He said, I've learned a lot, but I do know this. And listen to me, he said, "The fear never goes away. The fear never goes away. Relax and know that." I had a mentor in a real estate consortium. He had like 100 houses, rental houses, and 50 apartment buildings. And he said, at every closing, I'm terrified. At every closing, I think, is this the one that's going to tube me? Did I miss something? Am I going to lose all my money on this deal? Do you hear what I'm saying here? The fear never goes away. Get used to it. Your ego's not going to go away. Every now and then the ego's going to scare you, get you really, every now and then, with the stuff that's going on in this country, every now and then I get really sucked in. And then I have to go, "Oh, you got me there. Good job, ego. Come here. Let me give you a noogie here. Come on, guy. Come on. Oh, you like you. Come on, You make friends with it. It doesn't know what to do with that. I've been painting with oils for 30, 40 years, and I'm trying acrylics just this year. I'm scared. Sorry to pick on you, my sweetheart, but Patty ordered an Instapot a couple of years ago, and it sat for a month. And I totally applauded that. She was afraid to even open the box. And now she's gotten so good at it, she's given touring classes to people how to use the Instapot. And we love the Instapot. We live by the Instapot. Every time I give a speech, I'm scared. Last night I'm thinking, oh God, this is going to be a stupid speech. No, I'm serious. Ask any speaker here. They'll tell you. But the thing is, once you say the first sentence, now you're on a roll. Once you put the first paint on the thing, you're painting, now you're on a roll. You may mess it up. Okay, throw it out. Big deal. You're writing, once you write the first sentence, you're on a roll. You get that out. Because you're always in the deep. There's going to be fear and joy and excitement. The things that killed us make us who we are. The things that hurt dig deeper channels. Khalil Gibran in The Prophet said, "Is not the cup that holds your wine the very cup that was burned in the potter's oven? And is not the lute that soothes your spirit the very wood from the very wood that was hollowed out by sharpened knives? When you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find that your sorrow has deepened your joy." My experiences with all the lovely women in my life, I didn't have any failures. They all carved things, and I learned from every one to make me a different person. I heard a story about a lady who was in Findhorn, it's in, where's it, Scotland? Yeah, where they grow things like magic there, and it's a very spiritual place. And there was this guy who had this sense of peace, and one lady said to another lady, "I wonder how he found that peace." And the other lady says, "Well, by going into hell." He went into hell. That's where you find it. When you're in hell and you find peace. When you realize that right now, my life, I'm going to say, sucks. It's horrible. But right now, I could make this steak for me. Make this salad for me. And cry. You hear what I'm saying here? Or laugh. So I want to close with a little article. I just love this article. It was in the Smithsonian in 2005 by Beth Horning. It's called "The Power and the Glory." When I told my friend Leslie about my new power drill, she thought I was trying to be funny. We were out walking, and I was thinking about women's power to shape our environment, and the primal satisfactions that came from attaching a tiered basket and a spice rack to my kitchen walls. Really, I said, it changed my life. And Leslie detonated with laughter. But why? Only a few weeks before, every square inch of floor and counter space in my house was covered with the detritus of modern life: clothes, toys, books, foodstuffs, kitchen utensils. And acting on the basic human rage for order, I bought a Skill 3/8-inch variable speed reversing drill, power drill, and set to work. I practiced with lower tiered tasks, such as hanging the basket towel, or hanging the paper towel holder in the kitchen, and then progressed to tiered baskets and a spice rack. I found places to put things, and it made me feel secure. I discovered that I could make a hole in the wall without it falling down. And that made me feel strong. Still, Leslie's laughter bugged me. Would I forever be alone with these feelings? Well, I am not alone. In fact, there is a whole tribe of us. We are strong. We are invincible. We are women of the drill. My first intimation of the sisterhood came the next week over coffee with my friend Linda. I had just hung an enormous wall mirror in the living room, making the space seem huge and making me feel, well, huge too. I had to tell someone. But with Leslie in mind, I adopted a self-mocking tone, and it just said, hey, I got a drill. It changed my life. And Linda said, yes, I know exactly what you mean. She knew exactly what I meant. Linda, it turned out, has been fearlessly installing light fixtures, closet rods, you name it, for decades. In no time, I was sketching out ideas with her for projects and asking for her advice. A month or so later, I discovered that my sister-in-law, Emily, also had a drill. I saw it under her bathroom sink when I was looking for toilet paper. I was so excited, I carried it into the living room, heedless of the party guests who were eating hors d'oeuvres. Is this yours? I asked. Sure that it had to be, because it couldn't have been my brother's. And then I said, I have one too. Our eyes locked. That pegboard, I said. Over the stove, she answered. Yes, you noticed. And as everyone went back to cheese and crackers, we raced to the kitchen, where she had me tug on the board and pull down pots and pans to feel their heft. After that, I discovered compatriots everywhere. In the drugstore, I spotted a tattooed, green-haired teenager wearing a cordless model in a low-slung holster. On a bus coming home was a middle-aged mother in a Merry Maid's uniform, excitedly telling her son about the shelves she was going to put up in his room. Then there was my therapist. I told her about the postcard that I had gotten from Leslie, who was vacationing in a tropical island. The postcard said, I trust you continue to reap deep pleasure from your drill. Yuck, yuck, yuck. She wrote, God, Leslie, I thought, get a life. I thought as I read this through my safety glasses. I was just installing a bulletin board on my daughter's wall. The drill was there. Temptation called. I did not resist. And I bored a 9/64-inch hole through the offending sentence. But over the next days, I started to wonder whether Leslie might have a point. So I decided to let my therapist referee, and I told her the story. And what did she do? Did she ask what the drill reminded me of? Did she invite me to imagine that the drill was seated next to me, ready to converse and eventually reveal its secrets? No, she did not. And I shared this knowing that there were other souls who need to hear this. She simply picked the lint off her sweater, recrossed her legs, and told me matter-of-factly that sometimes the drill is just a drill. And then she smiled. And, she added, as her gaze drifted to the wall behind me, and I turned to see a large, expertly hanging mirror. A drill can be a very fine thing. Bless you all. Bless God. Namaste.